Welcome back. This is Frank Demora with the last Chronicles of Planet Earth. This is part 4 for June 28th of 2011. Welcome. I'm going to cover another prophecy that I'm seeing a lot of, and I just want to tell you this. John McTernan wrote a book about situations that nations were finding themselves in because they had cursed the nation of Israel, and they've gone against Israel, or they've gone against Jerusalem. McTernan's book cites different events that have taken place when world leaders have come against Israel, trying to divide their land. And McTernan ends his book in 2005, where we see a lot of these events taking place where nations are in turmoil one way or another because they have taken a stance against God in dealing with the nation of Israel. Now, if you read Joel chapter 3, verse 2, and if you read Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, and if you read Zechariah 12:3, you will see that, number one, you'll see the curse, and you'll see why. And God is going to curse people who try to divide the land of Israel. In other words, split it up for whatever reason. And also you will see judgment coming against people for doing that. And Zechariah, you will see that the nations will be cut into pieces that burden themselves with Jerusalem and try to come against the people of God, who are the chosen Jewish nation, that God is going to use this tiny nation to demonstrate that He is the God of Israel and the God of all people, and they need to go to Him through salvation. Now, with that, knowing these scriptures, knowing what God has warned us, let me read you a headline for an article that came out on January the 30th of 2011 that has to deal with Greece. I'm going to put this up here for you so that you can see the headline for it. I'm sure that you can Google that headline and you'll come up. It says this: report, Cyprus, which is obviously the capital of Greece, recognized the Palestinian states within the 1967 borders. Palestinian news agency WAFA says Cyprus President Christopoulos sent a letter to PA, Palestinian organization, leader Abbas, stating his hope that the Palestinian state will be formed with East Jerusalem as its capital. Now, what we have here is Cyprus taking the side with the Palestinians, saying that we are working with the United Nations in supporting dividing up the land of Israel. Exactly what God said you will be cursed for doing. And by dividing this land, we know that there's going to be result of going against God. And we see this happening shortly after some leader or people come against Israel. Now, in my book, which I'm very excited about, that I put up a new chapter in my book called The Curse of God. And what I did is, because I've been following this information for a while now, I'll pick up where John McTernan leaves off from his book, and I'll show you what's happened since 2005 all the way to the present time, as in June of 2011. And you will be surprised to see how many people, almost within a day or 2 days, or shortly after, when somebody goes after Israel, destruction that comes on those people. Now, you saw the proclamation that Greece was going against Israel. They were going to divide the land, and they were going to give back, pushing the East Jerusalem to go back in the hands of the Palestinian people. I want you to read this. This is from Sky News that came out today, June 28th of 2011. I'm going to put it up here so that you'll be able to see it with no problems whatsoever. It says, Greek anti-cuts rally marred by violence. Now, shortly after that Greece set out to go against God's plan for Israel, we see that the nation of Greece is starting headlong, going into a financial crisis to the point where the news said today that they're almost bankrupt. And they're rioting. Here's one of the pictures that you can see, and I have on my website, you will see the videos where they're actually rioting today. And nation is coming, the kingdom against the kingdom. I'm going to throw that in there too, because what's happened is because of Greece going against God, dealing against Jerusalem and dealing against the Israelis to try to split up the land, God's curse has fallen on the nation of Greece, and they are now have become a financial basket case for not only Greece, but a huge burden for the European Union, who also has been working to divide the land of Israel. And I'll give you more of those details in my book about what's happening with Germany, France, and the rest of the European nations that have gone and fallen under this curse. And so it is very important that you understand what's going on. Now I'm going to, as I'm talking here, I want you to listen to the background, because this is what's going on today in Greece as they're rioting. It says some 5,000 people or police were deployed around Athens as demonstrations gathered outside Parliament, chanting anti-austerity slogans, because they're going broke and they're cutting and they're cutting jobs and they're cutting back entitlements. This is actually taking place. It says doctors, casino staff, theater actors, and air traffic controllers were just some of the workers who have joined the walkout. They're actually put Greece into a standstill. And now this is an important part of this article. Is Greece needs a loan payment next month, or to pay next month's bills, and without it, the country will default by July 15th. And they're going to be voting on this budget, this reform budget. And if it fails, they're going to be doing this tomorrow. If it fails, it can not only bankrupt the nation of Greece, but it could set motion of a domino effect within the European Union. And I wouldn't be surprised if this happens, because the European Union has also fallen under the curse of God for going against the nation of Israel. So these things are not just something that's occurring. If you know Bible prophecy, you know obviously why these things are taking place, is because God showed it. That's exactly what was going to take place. Now, the United States, for example, is another one of those countries that have fallen under the curse of the Lord. And the United States is paying a huge price. You've seen, and I'll give you very specific dates of when these leaders had stated and what they said about Israel and going against Israel. And I'll give you the events that took place, and you will see that just in a matter of days, devastation has come. Not only that, but take a look at this, because we see the United States, like the European Union, like Greece, is on a verge of bankruptcy. We believe that this is part of the curse. Get a load of this. It says banks repossessed 1 million homes last year, and 2011 will be worse. The headline alone should tell you. The birth pains. Remember the birth pains, because we're seeing these events getting a lot stronger than they were before. And this came out of New York, MSNBC.com. It says the bleakest year in foreclosure crisis has only just begun. Lenders are poised to take back more homes this year than any other since the U.S. housing meltdown began in 2006. If you don't believe that this is part of the curse, I don't know what to tell you, but I can point you to my book where you can get the rest of the evidence, the documentation that will show you that this is happening, and it's not a coincidence. The dates and the events that are transpiring are not a coincidence. the CBS News. There's a video, and again, this is on my website. It says this: no state is hit harder by the housing crisis than Florida. Of 4.3 million mortgages here, 780,000 are in default. 1 in 4 of those so-called strategic defaults, people choosing to walk away. Now, in 2000, at the latter part of 2007, the beginning of 2008, I told you what was going to happen in the future. And knowing, because of prophecy, I showed you what to look for. And what I showed you, what you should be looking for, has happened already in 2011. It started as I said, in the beginning of 2008. And every month, if you go to my prophecy site, you will see where I told the people, every month when you go to watch the news, as long as the United States is trying to divide up Israel and is trying to give East Jerusalem over, they are going to sink down under the curse of the Lord, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's exactly what is happening. Now, back in 2008, go back and read all the posts. I have the dates that are still there. What I said every month you will see hundreds of thousands of Americans lose their jobs because of this curse. And every month we're seeing hundreds of thousands, sometimes 500,000, losing their jobs. And this is happening at the same time where Geithner is trying to say we're in a recovery, or President Barack Hussein Obama is trying to tell us that we're coming out of recovery. If you listen to that and you believe that, then I got a lot of property in Florida I can sell you. Not really, but I'm just trying to make my point here. And the point is this: God means business when he says, I will curse you if you curse Israel. Now, there's one way to find out whether God is real or not, or Jesus Christ is real. I don't really, suggest that you try this, because it'd be pretty bad. But if it'll help you get saved, all you have to do is curse Israel, and God will come against you one way or another. God's word is fulfilled. And I pray that you don't try this, but you will definitely know that God is real. And when he says, hands off of my people Israel, and leave East Jerusalem alone, don't burden yourselves with it, that's exactly what he meant. And so please take to heart what the Lord tells us about this curse. Bless Israel. Help Israel. Don't come against it unless you want to be cursed. And then obviously you will be cursed. So take the information that I have given to you in my book, in my free book, The Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. Again, it's the brand new edition of the 2011 June of 28th, or June 30th of 2011. It'll have all that information in there so that you can check it out to make a verdict, showing that God's word is definitely true, and the proof is in the book. So scroll down. We're going to move now into part 5. Thank you.